All right, let's talk about the West Division now. There's a lot of intriguing matchups in this one, so let's get talking about it. All right, so first up, we got the Colorado Avalanche against the St. Louis Blues. For St. Louis, I believe they have a bit of a personal vendetta here against Colorado. As we know, there was that historic last game of the season back in 2018 where the Avalanche knocked the Blues out of the playoffs. The Blues just needed one extra time point to qualify. The Avalanche needed to win to qualify. The Avs got the regulation win, and they knocked St. Louis out. So here they are again, meeting in the playoffs. And Ryan O'Reilly, he's stirring the pot a little bit already. He's saying, we're going to beat the Avalanche. Well, I mean, hold on to your hat there a little bit, Mr. O'Reilly. Let's get into this one and see if they can. First, let's look at some numbers on the two teams. For the Avalanche, 197 goals for, 133 goals against. They're ranked 8th on the power play at a 22.7% success rate. They're also ranked 8th on the penalty kill at an 83.1% success rate. And then for St. Louis, goals for, 169, goals against 170. Their power play is 6th at 23.2%. Their penalty kill is 25th at 77.8%. I give the Avs the edge in the special teams just because their penalty killing is miles better than the Blues penalty killing, even though the Blues power play is a little bit better than the Avalanche's power play. And for St. Louis, I think when you're a team like them that's big and physical and grinding, you kind of get pegged as a team that, that you're just this big bullying team. And yeah, the Blues are a bit of a bullying team. I have to agree with that assessment. But people forget how skilled they are. They do have some skilled guys on there. Tarasenko, Mike Hoffman, who they added this season, Ryan O'Reilly. They have good depth, too, throughout their lineup. Jaden Schwartz, too, is good for a goal or two he can chip in. And they have a really good group of guys on the back end as well. Although the Blues have a lot of skill, the Avalanche have just as much, if not more, skill. And the department that the Avs really blow the Blues away into, in my opinion, is their speed. Their skating is just a lot better than St. Louis's. St. Louis, yeah, they are more physical, but at the end of the day, I'm a big believer in the fastest team usually wins out. You look at when Pittsburgh won their 2 back-to-back cups in 2016 and 2017, they pretty much just skated circles around everyone, and no one had an answer for their speed game. And if Colorado can play that type of style, if they can play at the pace they can, that we all know and seen that the Colorado Avalanche can play at, St. Louis is going to be in trouble in this series. And the Avs have a lot of great offensive defensemen themselves as well. They have Sammy Girard, Cale Makar back there too, who's been absolutely tremendous. The Cale Makar is just so fast, so fun to watch. Ryan Graves too, he's a guy that doesn't get a lot of notoriety because he plays behind those two guys. They steal a lot of the spotlight from him. And while he's not as flashy or nowhere near as flashy offensively as those guys, he still puts up a decent amount of points for a defenseman himself. He's got that big shot from the back end, and he defends really well too. He's very solid defensively, and he could play a pivotal role in shutting down the Blues offense. St. Louis is more than likely going to go with Jordan Binnington in net. Colorado probably going to go with Philip Grubauer, more than likely as well, I would have to assume. I'm going to give the edge in net to Colorado. I know that might be an unpopular opinion with a lot of people, but I think Philip Grubauer is a very good goaltender. Jordan Binnington, as good as he is, he has stretches where he loses his game. And I was talking about that with Mike Smith last night when I was doing my video about the North Division and the East Divisions. I was saying Mike Smith can lose his game for a little bit. Well, I kind of feel that way about Jordan Binnington too. He's good for the odd weak goal every now and then. And I just don't know, especially playing against a team as skilled as Colorado that likes to storm the net. He could be in a lot of trouble there. So I am going to give the edge to Philip Grubauer. So Ryan O'Reilly thinks his team, the Blues, can beat his former team, the Avalanche. I'm going to disagree with him, and I'm going to pick Avalanche in 6, even though the Blues seem to play the Avs pretty hard. I just think in a series, at the end of the day, the big separation between these two teams is the team speed that the Avalanche possess that maybe the Blues don't necessarily have as much of. The Avs have speed in spades, where the Blues have it in patches, let's put it that way. So Avalanche in 6. Okay, next up we got the Las Vegas Golden Knights against the Minnesota Wild, the St. Paul Wild, if you really want to get technical. So these two teams play each other, and if you're Vegas, you got to be a little ticked off. I think for them, they would have rather won the President's Trophy and played St. Louis. No disrespect to the Blues. But Minnesota's been playing really well here recently, and they've just been such a surprise all year long. Obviously, they have their great rookie, Kirill Kaprizov, who's been lighting it up for them. And Minnesota, as good as Vegas is, they're going to be a tough out for the Golden Knights. Don't sleep on Minnesota either if you're Vegas. Let's get some numbers on these teams though. Goals for the Golden Knights, 191. Goals against, 124. Very good defensive team. Pete DeBoer, people dump on this guy so much. I think he's a very good coach. Does he have a hard time adjusting sometimes? Is he a bit stubborn? Yeah, maybe, but you can't argue with the system he's put in place for his team. Power play for them, 17.8%. Not great, just pretty average. Penalty kill, 86.8%. That's good for first in the league. Their power play is 22nd, but that penalty killing, though, 86.8%. That's a very strong number. For Minnesota, goals for, 181. Goals against, 160. I've never really thought of Minnesota as a super high-scoring team, but this year in a shortened season, they were kind of a higher-scoring team. Their goals against not as good as Vegas's, though. Power play, 24th at 17.6%. Their penalty kill is ranked at 80.8%, and it's 12th in the league. So as far as special teams go, their penalty kill, even though Vegas's is first, it's respectable for Minnesota. Power play is about the same too as well, almost identical. For me, it's going to be 5-on-5 what's going to separate these two teams. Who can be better 5-on-5? And you never know. In a playoff series, maybe it's a power play that takes advantage of a penalty kill that can't adjust, or vice versa. And maybe that sets these teams apart too. I think the Wild have gotten away from being a slow team. They are still kind of big and physical, but they are a lot faster than we've seen in years past. Vegas, another physical team too, but I think they also have a lot of underrated speed. They have a lot of guys who can skate and light it up. For the Golden Knights, who's going to be in net? Is it going to be Fleury or Leonard? Obviously, we saw a lot of controversy in the bubble last year where Robin Leonard was getting the majority of the starts. Obviously, Fleury's agent, Alan Walsh, didn't take too kindly to that, as he had that infamous picture of Fleury getting stabbed in the back with the sword by the Golden Knights, and that kind of stirred the pot, no doubt. But who's going to be in net for them? That's the big question, I think. Me personally, I'm going with Fleury just because the guy's played out of his mind this year. Leonard's battled some injuries. Fleury took advantage of that, and I think he still showed Pete DeBoer and the Golden Knights coaching staff that, yeah, hey, I'm still the number one guy. You can think about Robin Leonard maybe a few years down the road when I'm retired and on the golf course enjoying my retirement life. But for now, I'm your guy. Put me in net. He had like 6 shutouts this year in a shortened season. For me, you got to go with Marc-Andre Fleury at least to start anyways. I assume more than likely the Minnesota Wild are going with Cam Talbot. Talbot has previous playoff experience, especially when he was in Edmonton. He went to the second round in 2017 where the Oilers eventually lost out to the Ducks. Cam Talbot used to be known as a really strong goaltender. I think he's kind of regained some of that rapport that he had as being a strong goaltender this year. I don't know if he's better than Fleury, though. I mean, obviously not. He's not better than Fleury or Leonard. For the Golden Knights, they have a great problem. That's having 2 outstanding goalies who you have a hard time choosing between. And no disrespect to Talbot, but I mean, come on. Fleury is Fleury, and Talbot is Talbot. That's the way it is, and I think the Golden Knights definitely have the edge in net. For me, this is a bit of a harder series to pick than maybe most people might think, and I know you're probably kind of laughing, thinking, oh, come on, it's going to be Vegas at 5 or something. I'm going to say, I just get this feeling Minnesota's going to push them right to the brink. I still think Vegas is going to win. Bless the Wild's hearts. They've played well all year long. Vegas in 7, and I know some people are thinking it might be a little shorter than that, but Minnesota is a hard team to play against. I don't think enough people realize that. The Wild really grind you down. They play really tight in their own end, as does Vegas. But I think Vegas, their offense that they've relied upon so much this year, they're going to find out just how hard it is to play against the Minnesota Wild's defensive style. I do want to point out, in order for this series to go 7 even, Minnesota will have to get great goaltending out of Cam Talbot. I mean, they can't have Talbot letting in weak goals or anything like that and expect to even have a chance at beating Vegas. I mean, if Talbot is a weak goaltender for them, it's probably Vegas in 5 or 6. But I think the Wild as a team, they're hard to play against, but if they can also get good goaltending from Talbot, like I said, this thing could go the distance, 7 games, but I'm still picking Vegas. So those are my thoughts on these series, guys. Please let me know what all of you think in the comments down below. There's a lot of intriguing matchups this year. The great thing about these playoffs for most of the teams in America anyways, there is going to be some fans. Even though it's not full capacity, at least it's something. It makes it more exciting. It's going to be a whole heck of a lot better than the playoffs we had last year in the bubble, which I just found extremely hard to get into, not only because of the fact that those playoffs were in the middle of the summer, but also because there's no fans. It's just you're all playing in like a tournament thing where you're all in the same building every night. I found it really hard to get into. So those are my thoughts on this here, guys. Like I said, let me know all that and more in the comments below. Please like and subscribe and share this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.